Broadcasting live from the offices of policebackground.net. This is the Police Applicant Podcast with your host, Ken Roybal.
Hey guys, welcome to a special live YouTube Live of the Police Applicant Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Roybal. Hey, the reason I'm on here is because some stuff has come up in the news lately, and I wanted to let you guys in on it as far as police departments go. And I got some people in the room here. Let me see if I can go on live here with you guys and see who's in here. Give me a hot second. Police applicant group. Okay, let's see here. Who's here? Jesse Meese, Jamie Cargania is here. And yeah, so thanks for joining, guys. Jamie, this is right up your alley. I wish I could have got you on here. But something came up to me. Somebody got me in Instagram, somebody who has a tight connection to Seattle PD. And the problem is that Seattle PD is on track to lose about, I think they're going to be over 500 officers. They're going to be losing this year. Between this year and last year, they're going to be losing about 500 officers. LEPD's in the same boat. So the question for me is, what do you guys think about the departments that you're picking? How are you picking them? And what are you looking at as far as where you want to, what departments you want to join? Are you know, when we talk about these things on the podcast, I always say to check the news, see what's going on with the departments, the politics and all that. And on the podcast, I try and stay away from politics. But one thing that you should be aware of is that the departments are struggling all around the nation as far as recruitment goes. And this is an ongoing problem. It's not just the large departments, it's the smaller departments too. And they're trying to do different things. A friend of ours on the podcast, Donovan Heavener, who joins us every once in a while here, and he works as a recruiter and a background investigator in Federal Way, Washington, which isn't super far from Seattle. But what they're doing on their department is they're offering laterals, $20,000 signing bonuses, and for recruits right out of the academy, they're offering $3,000. So this is getting big. I mean, there are some departments that have offered $30,000, $20,000 to woo officers from these other agencies over to their agency, and they're really targeting places like Seattle. LAPD, I'm not sure what's going on there. They've been having some struggles, and so I want to pull up this is an article that came out recently about Seattle. And this is common because NYPD, Chicago PD, I know people, Jamie, you and I know somebody from that used to be with Chicago PD, and she left because it was really bad before 2020. She left. And now here we are in 2022, and the departments, they've already defunded their agencies and they're losing people. Places like Seattle, for instance. Seattle has had to stop. They stopped investigating adult sexual crimes because they don't have the manpower to staff them. To get a police officer in Seattle takes a long time. If you call them and you need to get a cop there, stand by because it's going to be a long wait. Seattle is one of the big departments that's losing officers. And for Seattle to lose 500, 600 officers in a year, that's getting close to about a third of their department. Same thing over with, let me see here, with LEPD. This is a recent March 2022. LEPD is having recruitment problems as well. And so it's not to say that Seattle and Los Angeles are alone in this. It's just that the problem is they could have a really good department. You could find a really good department, and they're having struggles recruiting people. And then when you get to larger agencies, for instance, LAPD and Seattle PD and Chicago and NYPD, where they are having issues in the city that's driving the police officers away to retirement. So, for instance, LAPD, when I left there in 2018, December 2018, they had 10,000 officers. Right now, they have 9,500. And if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be going below that because they can't keep up with attrition. And so they're having problems hiring. So what I want to find out from you guys, if now this will go out to YouTube later. So in the comments, let me know in the comments what you guys are doing. But I'm curious, what exactly are the candidates doing as far as recruiting? Where do you want to go? Why do you want to go there? Do you look at just the pay? Are you looking at the benefits into retirement? Because that's a big deal. Are you looking at the politics? Because there's nothing worse than an unhappy cop. I mean, when the city does not care about their police officers, recruitment suffers, cops leave as soon as they can retire, cops leave to go to other agencies. So what I'm curious about with you guys is where exactly are you applying and why? So if you're on YouTube and you get this later, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me see here. I've seen this before. Leave a comment in the comment section there. And I'm just wondering how you guys are ferreting out the departments and which ones that you want to join. So this is not going to be a super long conversation, but I want to let you know just my thoughts on this is that the first thing I would do if I was searching for a department to go to, the first thing I would do is I would go to Google. And I would Google that agency. I would Google that city and that police department. I would Google recruitment. I would see what their starting pay is. Because some departments aren't keeping up with other agencies. In Washington State, it's not unusual for a 2-3 year copper to be making close to $100,000 a year. Maybe 3-4 years later. But in Washington State, it's not a big deal to have medical into retirement, and that's expensive. And then some agencies don't start out really high, and so you want to find out what they're paying per month, but also you want to find out what the benefits are. But I'm telling you, I'm not here really. I mean, that's kind of common sense for everybody to figure out what they're going to do as far as what the pay is going to be, and the benefits are going to be. That's really, because that's expensive. But the thing for me is, where are you guys going? Where are you guys going as far as the agencies that you want to apply with? Let me pull up a comment here. Ricardo says politics are sad in LA, but this is my home. I hear that a lot. Also, I'm looking for a department that offers candidates opportunities to grow within the agency. I agree. And LAPD has a lot of opportunities, And there's different places you can go. There's a lot of agencies, the larger agencies, you can go so many different places. And I'm not sure about, promotional opportunities, because the less cops they have, the less promotions come up and things like that. But I'm just, like for you, Ricardo, I mean, you're LA, man. And it's hard to, no matter what, LAPD is going to be your thing. And I get that, because I talk to a lot of candidates. I talk to candidates probably almost every day. And they tell me, I want to join LAPD. I want to join this department. I want to join that department. And I say, that's good. And why do you want to join them? And they'll tell me, and a lot of times it's because they grew up there. They want to help the community and things like that. And I believe, like in LAPD, Ricardo, I believe LAPD will come out of this. The cities are going to have to wake up. Excuse me. They're going to have to wake up, and they're going to have to decide whether they want to choose to defund the police or they want to choose to back their cops. because they cannot go much further backwards, and otherwise things are just going to get worse. Because if you don't have cops in the street, it's going to be chaos. It's just going to be bad. So I agree with you. It's your hometown, and that's what you want to do. Steve Gould. Steve Gould says he's in a rural agency out in Massachusetts, and he says it's less pay but less headaches. I agree with you, Steve, on that. Excuse me. And Steve and I had a conversation with Minerva on the podcast about the differences between rural policing and big city policing. It's a huge, huge difference. And the pay is not always, the greatest, but you got to think about the stress that you might have as well. Being on a larger agency, there's going to be a lot of stress. There's a lot to that. Steve, it's good to see you, man. I'm sorry you couldn't give you a call. Steve, let me get something to drink here. I was going to call Steve and put him on here, but he's in the rural area and his cell phone is dicey. So I can't get him on the live call right now. This is Facebook user. If you don't give Facebook permission, I can't tell who you are, but let me see. Who is this? That's Jamie. Jamie. Yes. So LAPD's offering a hiring stipend of $1,000 a month. Is that for the new apartment thing that they're doing? Because I can't remember. Let me get Steve Gould on the phone here, because I want to get his take. He's always got some good stuff for me. Steve, I'm going to call you right now.
Hello,
Stephen Gould.
sir.
You are live on the podcast, on the YouTube Live.
Oh, I love it. I love being live.
Well, I was going to have you on here as well. Jamie's on here too, and we both know Jamie. And
Jamie's great.
Yeah, and Jamie says that they're offering a housing. LAPD's offering a housing stipend of $1,000 per month. So that's just to come out. It doesn't matter where you stay, Jamie. It's like if you come out and you get an apartment, they're just going to give you $1,000 period, no matter where it is, because that would help a lot of people. I mean,
especially if they team up and like live together, they each get $1,000.
Oh, that would be cool. That'd be cool. I'm not sure if it would help the city, that part of it, but certainly it goes towards getting people out there. I remember one agency, I don't remember what state it was, Steve, where they actually are building, I want to say it was Atlanta. They built a actual apartment complex for candidates to live in. And I think that's pretty cool. The issue for me, Steve, is that what can these departments, these cities do? Because the departments, their hands are tied. They can only do what the city says, right? And you work in that in a police department where you have to go by what the city says you have to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I mean, a lot of these places are. I mean, the money some of these places is offering is like outrageous. I mean, it's great, and I think police deserve it. But $20,000-$30,000.
Yeah,
it's just so funny because it was, you and I were covering those stories a year or two ago when they were taking money away, and we're all shaking our head, going, "You're going to pay for this big time."
Yeah,
and here they are. I mean, it's ridiculous, and good for those. I guess they defunded the police, so I guess they saved the money, so they have it to give out now. But places like LA, $1,000 is nice, but I mean that's not much money.
Yeah,
especially when it comes to LA housing,
Yeah, because LA housing is pretty up there as far as that goes. But they're doing something. I don't know that. I mean, Steve, what do you think about how that applies to say the rhetoric around the police has been so negative, and then the politics and defunding the police. What I'm kind of wondering what the recruitment units can do, because if they don't have a big slush fund for the recruitment units, how are they going to attract candidates to these agencies? That's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, it's kind of like you these candidates are feeling like the city's Ike Turner. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you gonna whisper in my ear to make me believe you're not going to do this to me again?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What are you going to tell me to convince me not to go to the more rural sheriff's department that pays pretty good, but the sheriff is he's a base badass who I actually have respect for.
Yeah. And that has a big deal. I think there's a big difference between sheriff's departments and police departments too. The politics are a little bit different, but my heart goes out to our police officers who are in the in the mix of it, and people like that have been on 10 years or more, and they're police officers now, and they remember what it was like pre 2020 or 2010, 2012, things like that, when the police weren't the most liked people in the world, but that certainly wasn't a war on cops. And so now it's tough because it's a matter of retaining those officers. And then I'm not sure what they're going to do to get police officers anymore. It's just, I think that's the big problem is getting the officers, recruiting the officers to replace the ones that are leaving. And the problem is that they are not recruiting enough people to replace the amount of people that are leaving. And that's the big issue, Steve.
Yeah. I think they should really try to foster their best relationships with locals. Like you were saying before, like people just want to be an LA cop because LA's their city and they have love for it,
Yeah.
And I'm sure LA's doing that. I mean, LAPD is huge and they have a lot of resources and then they know what they're doing, with their campaigns. But I really trying to get the hometown boys and girls to come out to get on the job, I think is a pretty good angle. I mean, LAPD is so impressive. I mean, I went to a state school out here in Massachusetts, and I remember walking into during career day towards the end of almost at graduation, there's like a career fair, and there's all these tables set up with different companies and, big companies, small companies, whatever. And there's LAPD in Western Massachusetts. And there's two officers, highly polished, full duty belts, big sun badge, the whole thing. And it was like, damn, these guys knew, because I went to a school that was well known in New England for criminal justice. Although I was a computer degree, that's a different story. But
yep.
There they were, LAPD, the beacon of light. Like, man, these guys are badass. Look at this. They came out here to our little college to, put their best foot forward. I talked to the guys for like 20 minutes. They were great, really cool. They tried to get me on board through my computer degree. They're like, yeah, we got a whole IT thing going on. You don't even have to be on the street for too long. We'll get you maintaining the website or something.
You could have been LAPD?
No, that's what they said.
I never knew that about you. I've known you so long. That's the first I heard of that.
Yeah, well, these were recruiters, Ken. They'll tell you anything.
That's right. We've got one of our folks on Facebook says, been on the job with a pretty rural sheriff's office for a year now. I love my department and the people I work with. I grew up here and feel like I'm serving my community. Money definitely isn't everything. And so that's the truth. I mean, I think a lot of times, Steve, you get people who grew up in the area and they're not there for the money. And I think that between you and I'm not sure who this is, but he says he works for a pretty rural sheriff's area. We know office. And we know some people like that. And it's kind of I think it's an easier going. And the smaller agencies don't necessarily have to deal with all the struggles of the ongoing things that the bigger agencies deal with. Do you think that's true?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it's great. You can see the direct impact you have on someone's life when you work at a smaller place. And I work at a very rural agency. Cover a lot of square miles, but it's a different pace. I mean, there's different challenges, but it's when how it is too, Ken, because where you live in Washington, when you're in a more rural area, it's like people have their own land. Even when I see activism in signs in people's yards that you would think might not be very pro-police, like a BLM sign or something else. Typically, those people still, when you interact with them or you run into them on a call, are very grateful that you're there. They're polite. They're kind of they're on board with whatever their party line is towing, but they're really not. They're not like into it. You know, these are country folk. It's a whole different attitude out. I think it's different when you stack humanity on top of itself in cities. People become different creatures. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a whole different environment. When you've got a city of like LA's got 4 million people in almost 500 square miles, and that's a lot of people to pack into one area. New York is the same way. But for the people that are listening, I'm curious. You guys obviously want to be police officers, or you are police officers. What drew you to your departments that you're applying with? Because I'm curious about that. I talk to folks all the time because I do the consultations for pre-backgrounds, and people tell me all the time. They say, "I still want to be a cop. I still want to be a cop," and they are not. See, these guys and ladies, they are not going to be turned away by the political temperature that's out there now. They knew they were called to be cops, and they will be cops no matter what. It doesn't matter to them. And you ran into these people working backgrounds, and I know that Jamie, she talks to people all the time that they're just not thwarted by politics, and they want to be cops, and so they're going to apply, and they're going to take whatever hits come wherever they join. That's what they're going to do. They're going to be police officers, and I understand that. And you ran into those people too, with the heart to be police officers, Steve.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And like you've said many times, it's got to be a calling to do it. And when it is like that, it doesn't deter the right people. You know, they still want to do it. But I wanted to ask you. So, are you seeing in the business that you run? Are you seeing kind of maybe it's like a natural filtration, kind of filtering out you're only left with the real ones. You know what I mean? The ones that really have that passion, kind of less volume, but better quality type of deal.
Yeah. It's interesting because it ebbs and flows in my business, where it'll get really, really busy for a few weeks. Then a couple weeks, it won't be very busy, but it's kind of steady throughout the year. As far as the people that contact me, those are the people that really want to be police officers. And it could be the ones that I'll review their background, and it's like, there's nothing there. I mean, it's just the most easygoing background I've ever seen. I say, you're pretty good to go. And then all the way to the other side of the spectrum, where it's candidates that have struggled. I mean, they've had several DQs, they've had issues, and I've helped them to overcome some of the stuff that got them in that place, but they're not giving up. And so I think that as far as I can see, the people that contact me, they want to be cops bad, and they want to know what they have to do to make that happen. And a lot of times they're very sad that they haven't been hired yet. And some of them, they go through years and finally get. I was contacted by 2 people this week that they were trying for a long time, and they both say, I got picked up, I just graduated, and stuff like that. So there's not. I mean, for the people that want to join the department, Steve, they are absolutely not giving up. And I know that that's going to happen, but I think the issue now is. Probably a smaller number, would you think, of the people that they're trying to reach, though? Yeah,
because you're always, that's a base. Those people are always going to be there. They're gonna always be there for it. The people that you might not have gotten before might be going, I don't know if I want to try that. You know, maybe they would have tried it and would have liked it. You know, yeah. But like you were saying about those people that try, you know, they really put their effort in, and it takes a while. You know, people would think like, oh, maybe those aren't the best candidates if they have to try so many times. Not the case. Like, I've interviewed people on my podcast that are like super cops, like great people. And it took them like multiple attempts to become a police officer. And the fact is, it's just a fickle background. It's one, things can be misconstrued. One little thing could happen, bad timing, and boom, you're out of the process. If they have a good pool of people, it depends how strict they're going to be. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not really good. It doesn't really tell the quality of the candidate if they have to try multiple times, I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to come on here and just let people know that these, there's a lot of agencies that are they're losing people in droves. And I'm just wondering, if you come and you see this video after, we've already closed out, just go ahead and leave your comments and we'll get to them and we'll answer them. And if you're on YouTube, same thing, just leave comments and then I'll answer. I'm just curious. The question is there's a lot of agencies that are losing people quite a bit. What's keeping you what makes you still want to apply? And how are you picking your agencies that you want to apply at? So just leave that in the comment. I'm doing this thing, Steve, like I did that one time, and I go like this with my little fingers and go down, leave comments below. I'm just guessing that's where the comments are going to be. So that's going to be it for today. It. We're going to be doing a lot more pop-ups on YouTube because I want to get some of this content out to you guys as it comes up. And if Steve Gould is out in a patrol car, we're going to call him. We're going to call you, Steve.
Love a pop-up. Love a pop-up. I'm in, baby.
I got one. Ricardo has another comment. He says, "For me, I'm inspired by LAPD. Ken, you know how much LAPD helped my brother who battles mental illness. As of recently, the defunding was really a defund of services for people like my brother and a demoralization of officers. It has been terribly hard to get my brother law enforcement intervention now. At some point, leaders have to realize it too." And I remember that, Ricardo. We talked about that. And this is sad. This is the sad part about the defund, Steve, and the loss of services, because they claimed that they wanted to do one thing, and then Ricardo's here telling us that what they did was they defunded, and then the monies that were supposed to be used for mental health services were not forthcoming, and now his brother struggles as a result of of this.
That's the opposite of what we need. We need more mental health in the budget.
Yeah, so that didn't work out too well. Ricardo, I understand what you're saying. I remember the conversation, but I'm sad that that's what happened. And one of the big things now too, Steve, is that this money that they took and all the people that are leaving, I'm telling you guys, it's going to take about 10 years to recoup. Just LAPD and these other agencies is going to be the same way. It took Steve? It took maybe a few months for police officers to turn their retirement papers in, maybe a few months. But the numbers of people that they lost in this big circle of retirement, recruitment, training, hiring, all this stuff, it's going to take about 10 years because they've lost 500 officers in the last year, and people are still leaving. They can't keep up with it. So I think that it's going to be it's going to be a long time. And so right now, I think is the time to apply because departments need officers right now, bad. So,
heck yeah.
But hey, Steve, thanks for being here, and thanks to everybody else. Leave your comments long after we finish this up. We'll answer them. And thanks for everybody that made comments. And that will do it for us. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks for having me, Ken.
Thanks for listening to the Police Applicant Podcast. We are the premier police background prep site in the U.S. and Canada. For more information on scheduling your police background consultation, go to policebackground.net. Also, please leave us a review on iTunes.